Welcome back to the English Vision Podcast, the place where we help you see the English language clearly and speak it confidently. I'm your host, John, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Sarah. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing great, John. Thank you. I'm really excited about today because we are talking about something I struggle with almost every day.
I think a lot of our listeners will relate to this. Today, we are going to talk about how to think fast and speak fluently in English. So many learners tell me, John, I know the grammar, I know the vocabulary, but when it is my turn to speak, my mind just goes blank, or I speak very slowly because I'm trying to find the right words.
Yes, exactly. That happens to me a lot when I'm reading or listening. I understand almost everything, but when I'm in a conversation, especially with native speakers, I feel like my brain is a slow computer. I take too long to answer. It is very frustrating.
That is a perfect way to describe it. A slow computer. And the reason that happens is usually because of something we call the translation trap.
The translation trap. What is that?
The translation trap is what happens inside your head. When you hear an English sentence, you do not just listen to it. First, you hear the English words. Second, you translate those words into your native language in your head. Third, you think of your reply in your native language. And finally, you translate that reply back into English before you speak.
Wow. When you say it like that, it is a four-step process. No wonder it feels so slow.
Exactly. You're doing 4 times the work of a native speaker. A native speaker just hears English and replies in English. It is a 2-step process. If you want to think fast and speak fluently, you have to cut out the middle steps. You have to stop translating and start thinking directly in English.
That sounds like a dream, John, but how do I actually do that? I cannot just press a button in my brain and command it to think in English. My native language is too strong.
You are absolutely right. You cannot force it all at once. It is a habit, and you have to train it. But there are very practical, easy steps you can take. The first step is to start incredibly small. Do not try to think in full English sentences yet. Start by simply naming objects around you in English.
Like just looking around my room right now and naming things.
Exactly that. When you wake up in the morning, look around your bedroom. Instead of thinking the word for bed in your native language, force your brain to think bed. Look at the window and think window. When you make your morning coffee, think coffee, mug, water.
So I'm just labeling my environment.
Yes, you are putting invisible sticky notes on everything in your life. Do this throughout your day. When you're walking on the street, think car, tree, dog. It trains your brain to connect the real physical world directly to English vocabulary without needing your native language to explain it first.
I can definitely do that. It sounds almost too simple, but I see how it builds a new habit. Once I'm good at naming single objects, what is the next step?
The next step is to move from single words to simple sentences. You start describing your actions. We call this narrating your life.
Narrating my life. Does that mean I talk about what I'm doing, like the voice you hear in the background of a documentary?
That is the perfect comparison. Imagine you are the voiceover in a movie about your own daily routine. As you're getting ready for work, think to yourself, I'm putting on my shoes. I'm opening the front door. The weather is cold today. I'm walking to the train station.
So I'm having a little conversation with myself in my head.
Exactly. And the beauty of this internal monologue is that there is absolutely no pressure. No one is listening to you. If you make a mistake or if you forget a word, it does not matter. You do not feel embarrassed. This builds the habit of forming English sentences quickly in a completely stress-free environment.
I like that a lot because the stress is what really makes my mind go blank. When someone asks me a direct question, I feel like there is a bright light shining on me, and I have to give a perfect answer immediately.
That brings us to a massive barrier to fluency, and that is perfectionism. Perfectionism is the belief that everything you say must be 100% correct with absolutely no mistakes. When you are speaking, if you're focusing too much on having perfect grammar, you will always speak slowly.
Yes, that is me. I'm always thinking, is it in the morning or on the morning? Should I use present perfect or past simple here? And while I'm trying to remember the grammar rules, the other person is just staring at me, waiting for me to answer.
And that waiting creates very awkward silence. Here's a secret, Sarah. Native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time when they speak. We start a sentence, change our minds, mix up our words, and we just keep going. The main goal of speaking is not perfect grammar. The main goal of speaking is communication.
So you're saying I should just let myself make mistakes? That feels wrong?
I am saying you should accept that mistakes are a normal, natural part of speaking. If you say he go instead of he goes, the other person still completely understands your message. Focus on getting your message out of your mouth. Fluency is about the smooth, continuous flow of ideas.
What about accuracy? Accuracy means speaking correctly without errors, right? Will I just speak bad English forever?
Not at all. Accuracy will naturally improve over time as you practice and listen to more English. But if you demand perfect accuracy from yourself right at the beginning, you will never achieve fluency. Your brain will always hit the brakes to check the grammar rules. Let the words flow first, fix the small errors later.
That is very comforting to hear. Focus on the message, not the rules. I will try to remember that next time I feel nervous in a conversation.
Now let us talk about a physical exercise you can do to speak faster. It is a technique called shadowing. Have you ever heard of shadowing before, Sarah?
I have heard the word shadow. A shadow is the dark shape on the ground when the sun hits your body. But I do not know what it means for learning English.
It is a great visual image. Think of how your shadow follows your movements perfectly. In language learning, shadowing means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say almost immediately, exactly how they say it. You act like their voice shadow.
Oh, I see. So I play an English podcast or a video, and I talk at the exact same time as the person on the screen.
Yes, or just a split second after them, you try to copy their exact pronunciation, their speed, and the emotion in their voice. You do not even need to understand every single word they are saying. The goal here is actually physical.
Physical? But language is in the brain.
Language is in the brain, but speaking is physical. Speaking English requires you to use your mouth, your tongue, your teeth, and your lips in completely different ways than your native language. Shadowing builds muscle memory.
Muscle memory? Is that like when you learn to ride a bicycle or play the piano, and after a while, your hands and feet just know what to do without you thinking about it?
Spot on. That is exactly what muscle memory is. When you do shadowing, you train the muscles in your mouth to produce English sounds quickly and smoothly. Eventually, your mouth will know how to physically say complete English phrases without your brain having to work so hard to instruct every single muscle movement.
That makes perfect sense. I notice sometimes my jaw gets tired when I speak English for a long time. It really is a physical workout. I will definitely start doing this shadowing technique.
It will change everything for you. Now, I want to give you one more crucial tip for thinking fast. It is about how you learn new vocabulary. You need to stop learning single words and start learning chunks.
Chunks. What is a chunk?
A chunk is a group of words that are very often used together by native speakers. For example, instead of learning the word way and the word by as two separate things, you learn the phrase by the way as one single piece of information.
I understand, like learning the phrase how are you instead of learning the words how and are and you separately.
Exactly. When you learn chunks, your brain does not have to build a sentence from zero. You just pull that whole block of words out of your memory and use it. It makes speaking incredibly fast. If someone asks for your opinion, instead of thinking about how to construct the sentence grammatically, you just use the chunk, in my opinion, or as far as I'm concerned.
This changes how I need to study. I usually just keep a list of single vocabulary words in a notebook, and I try to memorize their translations.
It is a very common way to study, but it is the worst way for speaking fluently. When you read an article or listen to a video, do not just write down the new word. Write down the whole sentence, or at least the 3 or 4 words that surround the new word. You need to notice which words like to hang out together.
I can see how that would make me sound much more natural too, because sometimes I put words together that are completely grammatically correct, but native speakers look at me funny because they just do not say it that way.
We call that unnatural English. It is correct on paper, but it sounds a bit strange to the ear. Learning chunks fixes that problem automatically because you are learning the language exactly how native speakers naturally produce it.
John, before we finish, what should I do in a real conversation if someone asks me a question and my brain just needs a few seconds to think? What do native speakers do when they need time?
That is a brilliant question. Native speakers do not just stay silent. Silence is awkward. Instead, we use filler phrases. These are small chunks of language that do not mean much, but they buy you time to think.
Buy you time? You mean they give you a few extra seconds?
Yes. For example, if someone asks you a difficult question, do not panic. Just say, "That is a really good question. Let me think about that for a second." By saying that one sentence, you just gave your brain 5 extra seconds to prepare your real answer.
Oh, that is so smart. It shows the other person that I understood the question, and it keeps the conversation moving while I organize my thoughts.
Exactly. You can also use small words like "well" or "to be honest" or "let me see." These tiny words tell the listener, "I'm still speaking, please wait." It takes the pressure off you immediately.
Let me see if I can summarize these tips, John, to make sure I got everything. First, I need to stop the translation trap by forcing myself to think directly in English. I will start by naming single objects around me.
Perfect. And what comes after naming single objects?
Then I graduate to narrating my life. I will talk to myself in my head about what I'm doing, like a movie voiceover, to practice making sentences without stress.
Exactly right. What about when you're actually speaking to a real person?
I need to fight my perfectionism. I must remember that the main goal is communication, not perfect grammar. It is totally okay to make mistakes as long as my message is clear.
Yes, do not let the fear of making a small mistake pause your sentence. Keep the flow going. And how are we going to train the physical side of speaking?
By shadowing, listening to native speakers and copying them immediately to build muscle memory in my mouth.
Excellent. And how should you learn new vocabulary?
I should stop memorizing single words and start learning phrases and chunks. So I have ready-made blocks of language to use quickly, and if I get stuck, I can use filler phrases like, "let me think about that," to buy myself extra time without awkward silence.
Sarah, you summarized that beautifully. If you and all our listeners start applying these techniques every day, you will notice a massive difference in your fluency. It will not happen overnight, but consistent practice will make your brain faster and your speaking smoother.
I am feeling much more confident already. It is good to have a clear, step-by-step plan instead of just feeling frustrated. Thank you for explaining everything so clearly, John.
You are very welcome, Sarah, and thank you to everyone listening to the English Vision podcast. Remember, fluency is a journey. Be patient with yourself. Keep practicing your chunks and your shadowing, and we will be right here to help you along the way. See you in the next episode.